So today I'm going to talk about breaking down silos. But before we jump into the variety of problems that come with working with organizations that operate in silos, I want to start with our approach, or Booz Allen approach to DevOps. What does it actually mean to us? Sure, automation is very important. Velocity is important to us and to our clients. But what we're really focusing on is making our teams happy and healthy. If our delivery teams are happy and healthy, then our delivery is going to be successful. Then we're best at servicing our clients. So now we have this DevOps approach. How do we implement it when we're facing the clients that have and operate in silos? Well, I can't really name any clients here because nobody wants to actually acknowledge that they're a silo organization. I've been told by Booz Allen that 10 times. But let's just have a hypothetical government agency, 3-letter agency, Uncle Sam's Bank. And our goal is to meet our mission, whatever that mission might be. The approach, we went to DevOps Days DC. We listened to all these exciting speakers and read the book, Enterprise DevOps Playbook that Booz Allen has published, and decided that DevOps is going to get us to the mission. Awesome. What could go wrong? Well, so here I have a picture of my family. Like my family, this bank, Uncle Sam's Bank, operates in silos. We're a pretty dysfunctional family, and so I'm just going to go through the character, so to speak, of our organization. So my grandma represents security. It's basically someone, she's not there on a day-to-day basis. She checks in once in a while, and when she checks in, it's kind of late, right? It's like, oh, you're doing all these things wrong. Well, thanks, Grandma. Where were you yesterday to tell me this? And then I represent, this is a picture of me as a kid growing up in Moscow, represent developers. So baby, I was high energy, wanted to learn about everything, wanted to try everything, didn't know what was right or wrong for me. And then mom, that is your ops, right? She is giving me the schedule. She's explaining to me what is right, what is wrong. This are your framework how you can operate. So in my family, communication is a challenge. We speak different languages. We live in 2 different countries, 3 different cities. Go make us work together. It's impossible. Whenever my grandma or my mom tell me anything, how do they know what is good for me? I, most of the time, don't listen. I don't know how about you guys, but I don't listen to my family. What do they know? However, here is the problem. Even if you don't know much about DevOps, you can see that DevOps is one word, or DevSecOps, it's one word. It probably implies that those different groups have to work together. Dev and Ops and security have to work together. So how are you making this dysfunctional family or dysfunctional organization work together when they're not listening to each other? Well, I got 99 problems, but my tech stack ain't one, inspired by wise word of Jay-Z. So the first problem that I run with Uncle Sam's organization is the fact that wrong metrics breed wrong behaviors. That is how it works. If I'm told to do something, I'm going to do it. Whether it's good for the business, sometimes even my stakeholders don't know what the objectives are. Because we're working with silos, a lot of times I don't know what the other team or the other silo is doing. Because of lack of visibility into different teams, we run into issues of how do you resolve dependencies. And a lot of times what we find out, we do resolution of dependencies the day before the release. We all have experienced Snowflake environments. When things are done manually, you don't have standards in place. And as a result, you create this huge overhead that requires you to over-communicate, over-collaborate to make anything happen. A lot of our clients, I'm sure your clients as well, experience turnover, right? The executives come in and go. Contractors come in and go. So how are we going to trust people that we don't know? Trust people that are in different silos that I've never worked with. And now the the final challenge that I'm going to talk about is the confusion about DevOps ownership. Who is responsible for mistakes? Who is responsible for success? And a lot of times people are not prepared to adopt this and react to DevOps changes. So when I go through all this, when I onboard the new teams to my Uncle Sam's client, Uncle Sam's bank client that I'm not allowed to say the name, that's kind of the reaction of developers or agile coaches, like, what did I get myself into? Get me out of here, because none of this is technical. This is all people and process problems. Don't worry, there's a solution. We've done this before, and I'm going to talk about different ways how we solved some of these challenges. So let's talk about wrong metrics. So here I have an example of, let's say we have 3 teams, right? We talked about 3 silos. Application developers they have this metric. They measure number lines of their code, right? Security is measuring maybe how many vulnerabilities they captured before, or issues captured and resolved before going to production. And then operations, maybe they're capturing how many servers they have provisioned. Okay, you tell me, these are good metrics. I mean, it's good that they're doing some kind of visibility and metrics in their different silos. And they see hands shaking. The problem is not that these metrics are bad. The fact is, what are we trying to achieve here? What is the mission of our Uncle Sam's bank? And I don't see that here at all. What are we trying to achieve? And that's why we need the full picture. A lot of times, we do the front end and back end, just like, where's the database schema? I don't know. So features are not getting released on time. So the solution to this particular problem is pretty simple. To have understanding across teams, what is your mission? What are you trying to achieve at a high level? Maybe have a metric such as fast feature delivery to production. Maybe for your organization, particularly, you care about security. So maybe it's secure and fast feature delivery. Whatever that is, all organizations, all the silos need to have understanding of that and tailor their metrics to that one greater mission. However, my engineers tell me, how are you going to measure the unmeasurable? Okay, yeah, sure, it's hard to measure security and productivity and whatnot. I have a solution. Do demos. When you tell our 3-letter agencies to do demos, they freak out. All of a sudden, they have to actually show the result of their progress. And guess what? Not once in 6 months, but every sprint. That solves all your problems. Because if they're saying we're going to incorporate security as part of our DevOps capability solution, and then you look at the demo and there's no automated security, guess what? I don't care how many epics or lines of code they wrote. If it's not part of the demo, it doesn't exist. So here's an example of why I personally believe in having one goal, having that mission-focused metric. I joined Booz from a startup, and all our KPIs, doesn't matter what part of organization you were, in either marketing, sales, were tied to only one goal, and that was grow the business. And as a result, even though some departments, such as marketing or engineering, they usually don't really have Scrum calls, right? Those are different departments. They're not talking to each other. Even though we were doing all different things, we achieved the results. We helped the company grow from 200 to 400 people in only 2 years. And that's why I believe in a mission. I believe that all departments need to understand what the things that we're trying to achieve. And I kid you not, just yesterday, I talked to a new client. And I walk in, I'm trying to understand the landscape. I'm asking my stakeholders, so what are we trying to achieve here? Sure, we're doing this awesome application development. We're trying to incorporate DevOps. Crickets. Nobody could explain to me what are we trying to achieve. It's unacceptable. So next problem that I want to talk about is visibility. Because I remind you, we're talking about a siloed organization, different silos don't have visibility into each other operations. What is security doing? I don't know. What are ops doing? God knows. They're never talking to us. You have to submit the tickets. You don't even know who's like behind those tickets. So it is a huge problem when we're trying to roll out DevOps, something so collaborative. Oh, and by the way, this is from a Russian cartoon, Hedgehog in the Fog, so check it out. It's a great cartoon. So when you are struggling to have that visibility in different silos, one straightforward solution is leverage Agile. All the best practices still apply as you're trying to roll out your DevOps approach. That is backlog, doing sprints, backlog grooming, retrospective. However, because we're in silos, and now that I've done multiple implementations for the clients, such as Uncle Sam's Bank, the way contracts work in the government, sometimes it will be written that you have to have separate backlogs. And that's not the Agile best practices. So even what I suggest here, even if the contract is working against you, you still need to push that visibility across different teams. You need to understand, and the teams need to understand what each team is doing. Once you have that visibility in different departments, different silos, now you can start basically do the map of dependencies. Scrum of scrums, you think it's pretty basic, getting different teams, Scrum teams together. Well, the thing is with my clients, Scrum teams a lot of times are not cross-functional teams. They might not have security or back-end engineers represented. So what that means we have to do is bringing them together in some type of form. And so a lot of times Scrum of Scrum meeting is the first time when cross-functional teams get together. And they need to get together so that they can figure out the dependencies and resolve them. Here's an example of dependencies mapping for one of our clients. Before this approach, Agile approach, they didn't have visibility into what are the things that different teams depend. And in this environment, there are only 6 teams. It gets more complicated if different feature teams depend on each other. So you have dependencies between different feature teams. And then because we're in silos, now you have dependencies between the feature teams or developers and ops who maybe are not used to talking to each other. So this type of chart helps us to get different teams in the room and tell us, are we capturing dependencies correctly? And if we are they committing to resolving those dependencies on time? Next problem that I want to address is Snowflake environments. Snowflake everything, that's what I call in this section, and that's why I have Elza here who just loves to make snowflakes. Snowflakes are a result of manual processes because you have all this manual testing in place. You're provisioning infrastructure manually. And that creates, it's manual process error prone, and it requires a lot of collaboration, communication to make sure that different pieces work together. And that is a huge burden on any organization, especially an organization that is siloed. So things that we've done before to break out of that habit, so to speak, is we need to drive standardization across the board. And I understand it's a siloed organization, and every department is different. I'm not saying there should be one person coming in and say, we're going to have XYZ standards. No. But you have that power over your silo. You are operating, sure, in your team and your silo. In each team, we can ask ourselves, can we standardize processes? Can we standardize our security checks and balances, our testing, our infrastructure provisioning? Yes. 2 ways to do it. Automation. Adopt automation in your silo. Once again, I'm not pushing you to adopt automation across the board. What I'm asking, try to achieve automation within your silo or department or sub-department. The other part and the challenge, for some reason, a lot of stakeholders that I work with, they just never show up. So that means when we're trying to figure out, okay, we decided to do automation in this silo, do automated testing, my clients start going into like this journey of self-discovery, research, and planning to try to figure out what tool or approach to bring in. and 6 months later, we still don't have a decision. So solution to that, and I ask the stakeholders who are here in the room or dialing in, please make decisions. We cannot be waiting 6 months or a year for decisions to be made because guess what? The new technology, new processes are going to be in the market, and we're going to be behind again. I feel your pain. I talked about standardization, and I want to keep Booz also honest. When we are bringing our DevOps approach to our clients, we want to also make sure we are standardizing our DevOps approach, especially if you think about adopting DevOps at scale. So what we see a lot of times, our clients start developing Jenkins file snowflakes. So there's Jenkins file for each application. That is not standardization. It's hard to manage that. So what we developed at Booz is creating this pipeline that is one pipeline that can be scaled to whole organization. However, you might start looking at kind of the pipeline defines a variety of steps, a variety of testing. So what my clients will say, well, our performance testing, that's one silo, and our functional testing, that's another silo. You asking us to work together? Yes. Guess what? That's DevOps. We're going to work together. The problem here, why clients don't want to work together or silos don't want to work together, is the trust issues, right? All these executives come in, they tell me what to do, but I don't know you. You'll be gone 2 years from now. This is my career. I've been with this organization for 10 years. Why would I listen to what this executive has to say? Then contractors come in and go, vendors come in and go. Why would I trust people I don't know? Well, I understand we're people. We can't get necessarily along with everyone, and it's very hard in silos of big organizations to get to know everyone. So the solution is here really to take the people out of the equation. Can we have a process in place that drives that universal language of we need to have something in common that we all agree on? Sure, you can tell me, Julie, this is so easy said and done. They're different silos. They all have different opinions. So I told you about those executives that they need to show up. Well, now that they showed up, I put them in the same room. And I don't let them go until they make all the compromises, decisions that affect everyone. I basically make executives to mirror my DevOps approach. I need every person who is responsible for that silo and that wants to do DevOps to be in that room, make the decisions, maybe have some heated discussions. I've been through those as well. What helped our executives to find that common language, single source of truth, is having the long-term vision and a short-term vision. So for long-term vision, it's basically asking our Uncle Sam's bank, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And a lot of questions such as this result in maybe they don't see themselves going to the cloud, but they have to have that vision or long-term where they're trying to go. Short-term vision seems to be a little bit easier, right? Well, we kind of have to know what we have to do with next year within the next couple quarters. However, I think a lot of times when we as consultants, and I will take the blame for that, we come in and say, today you release once in 6 months, tomorrow you're going to release monthly. If you talk to any of my clients, they're going to say, this is a joke, right? Like, why? Yes, I understand other organizations are doing it, but how are we going to get there? And that's where short-term goals of that incremental architecture has been very helpful to us to paint that vision to our clients, how they're going to get there, how they're actually going to get to monthly releases. And so here's an example of a deliverable, like real deliverable to a client that goes through incremental continuous integration pipeline architecture. It's pretty straightforward. There's already an existing pipeline in place. There is some automation in place for code quality and whatnot. So what we're saying, look, next quarter, we're not trying to achieve nirvana or monthly releases. We understand things are taking a long time, but at least maybe we can automate more tests. Maybe we can include integration testing, performance testing as part of CI pipeline. So the hardest part Like I already, I got the executives to make decisions, got them in the room. They decided to collaborate. And for some reason, once again, Uncle Sam's bank thinks that that's enough, right? We have a couple things who know about DevOps. We are pretty educated. We can make decisions. The truth is, to the question, who owns DevOps, the answer is everyone. It's not just executives. It's not just us contractors or DevOps SMEs. DevOps affects everyone, and that means everybody needs to be ready for that change. How do we get ready? Learn. I can't be more excited about being in this industry because I'm always learning something new. There are always new technologies, processes, and skill sets that I'm picking up. And I want to share that excitement with my stakeholders as well and my clients. That is something most of our clients are pretty excited to do. They want to learn, they want to grow. However, they don't want to fail. I don't know how you learn without failing. And that is really hard for us to explain that culture shift. We can bring to you the best Agile or DevOps practices, but you are a siloed organization. You are an organization with your own culture, with your own history. We need to make that theory into practice, and the only way we can figure it out is going on this journey. We try things, we fail, we learn from them, we try things again. Easier said than done, but I think it's possible. The other things that we've done a lot with our clients is, if you think about it, we're still working in silos, right? You have this ops and security and development not talking to each other, or at least at some level. Maybe at the executive level, they're already talking. But at other engineers might not be talking to each other. So we can't be in every conversation. We can't be in every silo. So what really worked for us is whenever we do DevOps implementation, we try to coach people who are most excited about DevOps. We bring Agile coaches, DevOps SMEs, to enable executive champions to understand exactly what needs to be done. And we build our early adopters. We build them up to make sure, if you're excited about Jenkins, you will be driving those conversations and getting everybody else on your team excited about Jenkins. The other part that is super important to learning is, and part/a challenge, because we are in silos. Let's say you have achieved success at that particular silo. How are you going to transfer that knowledge to other silos? And that's where we truly believe you have to partner with other silos, with other contractors, with other vendors to drive that lessons learned that you have achieved at your Uncle Sam's bank to drive DevOps adoption, Agile adoption across the enterprise. And learning, as I said, it's a passion of mine and something that I'm always excited to talk to our clients and help with. And that's something we also do at Booz Allen. It's very important to us to stay on track with the best and the latest in technology and the world and practices. So actually inspired by this conference, we at Booz Allen do DevOps conference as well. Last time we brought Jenkins founder, Kosuke, so he talked to us about the future of Jenkins. And it's also our opportunity to get together and talk about what works, what doesn't work for our clients, and learn from each other. So we're going back to my family, and before they were kind of dysfunctional, now they still look stern, but they do like each other. we do love each other. And so you can see us working together. I don't think I was working. I was just chilling, and they were just like pulling me. It's the type of person I am, I guess. I rely on my team. And so what I want you to come out of this presentation and feel empowered that even though you might be working with organizations that are siloed, you have a framework, you have a way to get your organization to work together. First, remember always align different silos to something, one big goal, your mission, whatever that might is. Leverage Agile. Just because you're doing DevOps, it doesn't mean you don't need to do Agile anymore. Agile allows you that visibility and collaboration. Standardization is a key. I can't talk more about it. I understand it's hard sometimes to bring automation to the organization. We'll get the executives to make the decision. It's our responsibility that our stakeholders are bought into the latest and greatest in the industry. And eliminate somewhat people out of the process because they keep on, people change. Have a standard process that everybody kind of has a buy-in and believes in. And the hardest thing, learn from failing. So going back to my family, I think, I told you, like, sometimes it's really hard to listen to my grandma or my mom telling me something, but at the end of the day, we really care about each other. And when we need to work together, we do. And that's kind of what we here at Booz Allen also believe in. No matter what obstacles are on our journey implementing delivery, we believe in happy and healthy delivery teams because that is a way how we're going to do a better service to our clients. Thank you.